this is Gandora Gaming. I'm here with another deck profile. This is Pendulum Magicians. This is a really cool archetype that got me into Yu-Gi-Oh! Actually. One of my best friends. This is one of the decks he played when it was at its prime. And now it has a lot of new support and a lot of cards came off the ban list. I feel like this deck is either one card off the ban list or a couple new support cards away from breaking into the meta, if it hasn't already. And yeah, let's get into the deck profile. First things first, we play our one Astrograph. He is amazing for the archetype. Basically, what he does is that anytime a pendulum monster is destroyed, he special summons himself from the hand, and then he adds a pendulum. He does a whole bunch of other stuff, like he helps you summon out Zark. This version of the deck isn't going to make Zark, but you definitely could. And he's just a really great monster. He's a scale 1. He's at 1 for a reason. This guy is meta as hell, or at least he used to be. And he is the reason why Electromite has to stay banned, because Electromite popping scales, triggering Astrograph, it's so good. So good. Next we play 3 Chronograph. Chronograph is basically the baby brother version of Astrograph. Chronograph's effect, he has 2. He does the same thing that Chronograph does, where if a pendulum is destroyed, he special summons himself. But I believe instead of searching, I believe he special summons a different pendulum from hand. I could be wrong on that, but I want to double check just to make sure. Yeah, he special summons another monster from hand. I mean, he also can summon out Zark. He also has a pendulum effect, I believe, where you destroy him in the scale to add Time Gazer Magician to hand, which is pretty good because he's at 8. Time Gazers are one of brick in the deck. You don't want to draw this guy, but he's a really good dude. And yeah, Time Gazer Magician, summon off Chronograph. Next, we go for our Performance Pals. We play 1 Monkey Board, the next best new release off the ban list. This guy is amazing. He's a free pendulum scale. Basically, for the longest time in Pepe format, this card was banned for a very good reason. It literally adds a Performance Pal to hand, which it's a 1, so it's a free scale. And it's also a 6, so if you're playing a lot more expensive version of this deck, Harmonizing plus Monkey Board, he's a 6 plus 4, that equals Baron. So, really good card. Next we play 3 Skull Crobat Joker, another new release off the ban list. Skull Crobat Joker used to be at 1, now luckily it's at 3. Basically says when this card is normal summoned, you get to add a Performer Pal, Odd Eyes, or Magician to hand, which is pretty great. He's an awesome searcher for the deck. He's Stratus of the archetype. Also, he's at 8 scale, which is amazing. Also, his pendulum effect isn't too bad. You don't really put him in the scales, to be honest, so it doesn't really come up often. But I don't know. He's just a good scale 8. But honestly, you just want to normal summon him. So getting him into rotation and getting him out of the extra deck to then add back to hand to then normal summon him again is really good. So you always want him in rotation. Next, we play Performance Pal Pendulum Sorcerer. He is one of the cooler Performance Pals. Basically, what he does is that if you have 2 scales and he's pendulum summoned or special summoned, you pop those scales and then you add 2 pendulums with different names. He's pretty good. He's a scale 2, so there he works there. He's searchable by any of these. And yeah, he's a really good card. Next, we have Pendulum Celestial Magician, or Performance Pal Celestial Magician. He's a scale 8. He's a dragon. No, he's a spellcaster, my apologies. And he has a whole bunch of effects based on the column he's special summoned in. One of the effects is that he get to add a card during the end phase. I think another one is that he gains like 500 attacks, it's like a 2000 beat stick. All that matters is that he's a dark level 4 pendulum, and he's a scale 8. But adding during the end phase is pretty good too. Last Performance Pal we play is Performance Odd Eyes Synchron. Out of all the Performance Pals, you can cut this one, but I really like him. The idea is that he's a level 2 that can summon off Haka Fibrax with. He'll be going to synchro plays. Also, he has an effect of Reborn from the grave, and then quick plays synchro into something, which is pretty cool. And yeah, he's also searchable with all these guys, and he's a scale 6, which Never comes up, but hey, what can you do? Next, we play 3 Curtain Raiser. He is just your extender for this deck. That's all he is. He basically put him in a scale, and once per tool, he can special himself onto the field. If you're playing pure Abyss Actor, he has an effect where you can send a Abyss script card to grave, which has to do with Abyss Actors themselves, which this deck is not playing any Abyss scripts, so 3, it's just a level 4 dark that you can special summon itself. There's versions of the decks where you could definitely play Allure, because you play a lot of darks, and he's definitely a good Allure target to just banish away and keep extending. Now we go on to the Magicians, so let's put all these away real quick. And so the Magicians are the heart and soul of this deck. This is Pendulum Magicians to begin with. But a lot of cards came off the ban list for the Magicians, and I honestly do think that Magicians are almost at full power again, which is pretty awesome. First, we play 3 Oath Dragon. He is a great scale 2 of the deck. He has a couple effects. I think out of all the Pendulums, he's the one I know the least. I have to reread them real quick, but basically when this card is normal or special summon, you can target one Magician Pendulum monster or Odd Eyes monster in your graveyard and add it to hand. So he recurs stuff from grave, but usually you use him as a pen scale 2. And I think his Pendulum effect is what really shines about this deck. Basically, when he's in the Pendulum scale and you have another Magician card in the other Pendulum scale, you can add one face-up Magician or Odd Eyes monster from your extra deck to hand. So he's how you get Monkey Board, or not Monkey Board. He is how you get Skull Crobat into rotation, which is, where is he? Skull Crobat. So basically, after you pen someone Skull Crobat and you link him off or synchro him off or whatever, he can add him back from the Pendulum scale, so you can normal summon him again on your next turn. Really good card. Next, we play 3 Wisdom Eye. Wisdom Eye is a really great card. Basically, he's a free Pendulum scale. What you do is that you put him in a scale with another monster. As long as there's 2 Pendulums in the scale, let's say this guy and this guy, then he pops himself to special summon, not special summon, add to your hand, or does he place? He might actually place. I think he places. Yeah, you place a different Magician scale from deck. So he's actually how you fodder out. He's actually a search card, really good for the deck. And yeah, and the fact that he doesn't actually technically search, plays around Ash, great, because he just places the other scale, which is really good. So if you need a high scale or a low scale, he's the way to get it. Next, we play 3 Double Iris Magician, also recently taken off the list. Thank God, this card is amazing. He has 2 really great effects. His first effect, which is his Pendulum effect, is not as important. Basically, once per turn, you can target one Dark Spellcaster monster and apply this effect to it. Basically, it's a battle phase effect, where I think you do double any battle damage you do, which can definitely come up, and then he destroys himself during the end. But what matters is his monster effect. His monster effect says when this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, you get to add a Pendulum Graph to hand. There's 2 Pendulum Graphs that we play. One's a really, really good trap, which we'll get into, and the other one's a really good recursive spell. But this guy's amazing. You want to pop him as much as possible. And yeah, most of the Pendulums you want to pop, so he's definitely one of them. Next, we play 3 Harmonizing Magician. Harmonizing is amazing for your deck. You never want them in scale. It kind of theme with a lot of these guys. You basically want to Pendulum summon this card, and when you do, you special summon from your deck another Pendulum Magician. And because it's a tuner, it's a free 8 basically. But if you don't want that level 4 being banished, because whatever it summons will be banished when it leaves the field, you just have to XYZ into it. So it's a free rank 4. And that monster just goes to grave, which is pretty good instead of being banished. Because we do have ways to bring things back from the graveyard. That being Black Fang Magician. Black Fang Magician says basically, oh, I didn't mention this. All the Pendulums Magicians, they count themselves always as certain types. So Black Fang's always counted as an XYZ. Double Iris is always counted as, I believe, a Pendulum Dragon. Yeah, he's always counted as a Pendulum Dragon. You know, he's a spellcaster. Harmonizing, I don't know if Harmonizing does it. It does not, it looks like. But I do know Purple Poison always treat it as a fusion. The reason why they always treat it as a fusion XYZ Pendulum Dragon is so now you can make Zark. Zark is the boss monster of this whole archetype. We are not currently playing them because this is more a competitive version of the deck. But my best friend loves Zark. That's his boss monster. It's his crowning jewel. And he loves that his deck's at full power again. It got him back into Yu-Gi-Oh! And I'm all for it. I need to go about Blackfang's effect. So Blackfang basically says he can recur a magician from grave, basically. And that's pretty good. Basically, when he's destroyed on the field, he brings one back from the grave, which is really good. And he also has a battle phase effect, basically, where you can target one phase of monster your opponent controls, and the attack becomes half into the current attack at the end of the turn. And Purple Poison is your removal card. Basically, Purple Poison says when this card's destroyed, you get a pop card on your opponent's field. I think it's non-targeting, which is really awesome. And also, its Pendulum effect is if a dark spellcaster monster battles during damage calculation, activates its effect, it gains 1200 attack at the end of the turn. So this adds 12. This is having your opponent. This is doubling damage. It's all really good cards. Next, we play, finally, for our monsters, we play 2 Tuning Magician. Tuning Magician is a really, really good card. You use it to summon off Hulk. It is searchable. It's also a 1-card starter. Well, not really a 1-card starter, but it's just a really good card. Also, you can reborn it from the graveyard. And that is it for our monsters. Now we go on to the spells and traps, which, as you noticed, there's not that many. This is a 40-card deck, and we're already about 30 cards into this. So let's get on to our spells and traps. There's not that many. We play 3 Pendulum Call. This is the heart and soul of all Pendulum decks, all Pendulum Magician decks. And basically what it says, discard 1 card, and then you add 2 Pendulum Magicians with different names from your deck to hand, and then your scales cannot be destroyed for the rest of this turn, or in your opponent's turn as well. So it protects your scales for the next 2 turns, your turn and your opponent's, which is really good. It does sometimes hinder you due to the fact that because you can't destroy your own scales, you gotta be careful when you use this because, for example, you use this first turn and you have Wisdom and High in hand. Well, Wisdom Eye can't blow itself up in order to get one from the deck. So that's kind of annoying. So you definitely got to play this correctly. You want to pop cards, but you don't want to lock yourself out completely. But the really good interaction with this card is that for some cards, when they destroy themselves, they don't leave the field. And because they don't leave the field, they still trigger. At least that's how my friend used to explain it. I could be wrong. It might be a little outdated on the rulings. But if I remember correctly, he could pop like Purple Poison, but Purple Poison would stay, and it would still trigger its effects or something like that. But I could be wrong. Definitely feel free to comment in the comments below. Next, we play 2 Duels Alliance. It's a pretty good card. Basically, it says, hey, add a Pendulum or a Pendulum monster to hand. But you have to have a monster in your scale first. And you can only activate one of these effects once per turn. And it's a pretty good card. It's how you search Pendulum Graph, Call, and all those cards. It's really good. Next, we play 1 Call by the Grave because we still lose the hand traps. You definitely want to stop that. We play 1 Star Pendulum Graph. This card is a 1-of. Basically, what it does is that your opponent can't target your spellcaster monsters you control with spell or any effects, really. And basically, if a magician monster leaves the main monster zone, basically you can add a magician pendulum from your deck to your hand. So it's during your player's turn, you just keep, it's like Dynamis Charge for magicians. It's just really good. And yeah, now we go on to our traps, which we played 2 of. Now a lot of people only play 1 time Pendulum Graph, but I think this card's too good. And it's so searchable with double irons being at 3. I like the idea that you have 3 searches now. And this card's broken. We'll get into what it does just in a moment. Alright, so back to what I was saying about reason why I play 2-time Pendulum Graph. Personally, this is a very underrated trap card. This is probably one of the best trap cards in Yu-Gi-Oh's history. No joke. Basically what this card does is that you destroy one pendulum card you control, and then you destroy one card your opponent controls. And if you don't destroy a card you control, you then send a card your opponent controls, which is great. It says you, as you the player, sends a card, which is really good. Basically says, oh, because my skills can't pop, I get to send again. So this is literally like Dogmatic of Punishment as a continuous trap that removes 2 cards off the field. It's really great. It's really disruptive. If you lose one because of like MST or Cosmic, you want to search the other one. It's just a really strong card. It's very grindy. It's just one of the best trap cards ever made. And I've lost so many duels to this card back when this deck was at its prime. And yeah, I'm glad that we can search it again with Double Iris. And let's go on to the extra deck. Alright, so for the extra deck, we are playing One Beyond the Pendulum. This guy is Electromite 2.0. He's a little weaker, a little stronger. The jury's still out there on if this card is greater or not. But basically what this card does is that when it's Link Summon, you get to add a Pendulum to hand. But you can't activate monster effects for the rest of the turn until you Pendulum Summon. So there is a restriction there, which if you call that a restriction for Pendulums, it really isn't. Basically it just means you got a Pendulum Summon and you're good to go. He also has an effect, I believe. If things are special summoned to a zone he points to, he pops cards, which is awesome. I think he can pop up 2 per turn, which is just insane. And not to mention, he's linked to points down arrows, meaning that for pendulums, because all pendulums go into the extra monster zone, and there are special summoned from the extra deck, go into the how to go into the link zone or extra monster zone. This card helps you basically pay pendulums again. It's just a really good card. And it's either a 1 of or a 2 of. For me, it's a 1 of. You could definitely add more. My extra deck isn't perfect right now because I do want to play the Scythe Baron plus TG Crystron Hawk of 5X lock, but I did not have a artifact Dagda to play to search out Lance. Chat was called the artifact, so I didn't feel comfortable enough putting it in this video. But I'll definitely do an update to this deck showing the lock, which actually you can see in my Punk Eldritch deck. It's playing the same lock, so this deck can do it just as easy, if not easier, due to the fact that we can make Dagda so much easier in this deck than Punk Eldritch. And Dagda gets the Scythe, Electromite, not Electromite, Crystal Hawk of Firex turns out to Wonder Magician pops Scythe, Scythe summons, locking your opponent extra deck, Synchro into Baron. That's just really good. Next we play 1 Gravity Controller. This card's less good, but it's still a good 1-of. Basically says you link summon this card using a monster in your extra monster zone, which will always happen with pendulums, because when they pendulum summon from the extra deck, they are always going in the extra monster zone. And basically what this card does is it basically bounces itself back to the extra deck to bounce up another card your opponent controls in the extra monster zone back to deck. It comes up. It's definitely not as good anymore due to Factory Master Rule 5, so a lot of our decks don't really care about the extra monster zone. But if you're going against like a Link deck, or you're going against a deck that just messed up and put their monster in the extra monster zone, this can definitely mess them up. For now, we play the 1 Nightmare Unicorn. We all know what Nightmare Unicorn does. It just link summon, discard 1 card, bounce a card back to the deck. It's a really good 3. This one's going to throw everyone off. I already know. Scareclaw Tryhard. So you're probably wondering, well, Nicholas, you're playing Pendulum Magician. Why the hell are you playing Tryhard in the deck? Well, reason simple. He's a scale 3 that points down and it requires 3 materials. That's the reason. And pendulums, they need multiple zones in order to point down. Now, you can of course play Appaloosa, which is a force link 4. And of course Appaloosa is just multiple negations. My issue with Appaloosa was that once you use your negates, you kind of just don't have your. It just usually dies, and I wanted a Link 3 or a Link 4 that pointed down that would at least survive a turn. And this guy's pretty good. Basically, he's a babushka, for a lack of a better term, for links. He just requires 3 monsters, of 3 effect monsters, and what he does is that all monsters that are just summoned are put in defense mode immediately, so it helps you not die. And then it says, hey, because they're in defense mode, he's unaffected by monsters that activate their effects in defense position, which is pretty good. He's just a really cool dude. You pendulum summon 3 into his zone, and yeah, he's just a really good dude. You can also make him plus Babushka. Babushka's negating everything. He's a Pendulum 3. It's pretty set. Next we play 2 time Star Magicians. You can definitely cut to 1, but I like 2. Just the same reason why I like 2 of the trap card. It just brings back memories from the past. Time Star Magician basically says, hey, you can detach one material, add a magician from your deck to hand. I think that's during either player's turn. And also, he's another reason why you can trigger the trap card, because he can protect your scales if they were to be popped. So what you do is that if you have the trap card, he'll protect, allowing you to send again, which is awesome. Not to mention, he's an XYZ, so if you were playing the Zark version and you somehow lost your Black Fang, he's another way to do it. Next we play 1 Evil Sworn Nightmare. He's double Book of Moon, basically, during either player's turn, which is awesome. He's a weenie of attack, but he has 1950 defense, so he's a good blocker. Babushka for really just turn passers. Babushka's is a safe bet against most decks. If you don't have Imperm or Chalice or Forbidden Drop, this is honestly just going to stop their turn and you just kill them with the crackback. They have to have it out for this thing, or if you have interruptions, they have to waste them on Babushka, so that's pretty good. Next we play Abyss Dweller, says no to Graveyard. Next we play Supreme King Dragon Dark Rebellion. This is your OTK tool. Basically, this card helps you clean house, where when this card is made, when it attacks a monster, I believe it gains the attack. And because of all your boosting and lowerings with the pendulums, basically he can help you one-shot your opponent or go for game. This is a really good card. This card is definitely a staple, and I think my current version has to be altered to play this guy. So the reason why you even make this guy is because originally you used to play the Odd Eyes Dragons, and you made 2 level 7s, go into this dude, and then when this guy leaves the field, you special summon out Vortex Dragon, which we'll get into in a second. But we don't play any 7s in this deck anymore, so we can't actually XYZ into them. Luckily, my friend, the guy who I've been telling you who plays this deck, plays the Supreme King package, and the Gate Zeros can special summon this card with its effects negated from the extra deck. And that's pretty cool. So the idea is that you special summon this thing from the extra deck for free, no materials on it, basically as like a meat shield. Let it die, and it floats into a powerful Omni Negate boss monster. Let's get into that Omni Negate boss monster. We play Starving. Wait, where is Vortex Dragon? Oh, we got an issue here. I don't know where Vortex Dragon is. Alright, so I don't know what I just did with my Vortex Dragon, but basically it's a Pendulum 8 where basically when this card is special summoned, you bounce a card, and then let's just pretend this is it real quick, and then it's an Omni Negate by reshuffling back a Pendulum in your extra monster zone. It'll negate and destroy that card, which is pretty awesome. I would show you what he looks like, but I don't have him, so I'm just gonna put a picture on screen, and there you go. Next, these are just funny alternatives. We can play Beetles, because Beetles is Beetles. What's it called? We play 8 synchro. We can make 8 synchros. So, and we usually play a lot of darks, so we can synchro out Beetles, and he's kind of annoying to deal with. Plus, because he can't be destroyed by, I believe, card effects in battle. Yeah, he can't be destroyed by battle with card effects, so he's kind of like a Chaos Max besides the battle bar. I mean, he gains attack equal to the damage you take, so he can get pretty big. He's a fun of one of, and a more competitive deck could probably cut him. Next is the one of Supreme King Dragon Clearwing. Clearwing's amazing. Basically, when this card Secret Summon, it Raigekis your opponent's board. It's 3,000 attack, and yeah, he's a pretty house. I believe also he has a battle phase effect where he inflicts damage to your opponent equal to the number of destroyed cards, which is pretty awesome. And then we play one Starving Venomy Dragon. I guess this will be our Vortex for now. We should have a Vortex. I'm going to have to update this deck profile in a week or so. But yeah, this is supposed to be Vortex. But Starving Venomy Dragon is just a replacement for now until this takes Starving Venom off the list. But we'll be honest, Starving Venom should probably stay due to FTKs. And that is it for the deck list. The extra deck definitely needs to be fixed. The main deck can have a little bit of tweaking, but I think that overall it's really good. And yeah, this has been my Pendulum deck profile. I hope you guys enjoy and have a wonderful day.